Oh, hey, I'm Amanda. Um, you know that. I wanted to challenge myself to be working in a different medium um, and gain further comfort. So I'm going to do my weekly updates via vlog. The vlog. Hopefully, this is informative and maybe entertaining and um, not awkward. I'd start by talking about my capstone, where I'm at with some of the thinking that's gone into it, and then my progress for this week. So, for my capstone, I am hoping to have an impact on the access to abortion um, for women within the country of Rwanda. Um, I was lucky enough in 2016 to partner with a US doc who had spent some time in Rwanda doing urology and gynecology work with victims of rape and who were presenting in hospitals with fistulas, which is an opening tear between the vagina and the bladder, or the vagina and the rectum. One of the things that came out of her work was recognizing that many of the patients she was seeing were actually presenting in hospital uh, as an outcome, experiencing negative outcomes from unsafe abortion. So she started to do some research. Very shortly after she returned to the States, her and I were talking, and she was telling me a little bit about what she found, and I started to do some research, and we found that in Rwanda, abortion is legal, but there is no trained providers, or very few trained providers. Um, of those who may be trained, they're not advertising or making public that abortion services are available. And um, that abortions are happening at the same rate in Rwanda that they're happening in the United States. They're just all happening under varying degrees of safe conditions. So, in 2016, the doc and I, Renee Novello, um, went to Rwanda. We connected with a group of medical students who organized a Rwandan chapter of Medical Students for Choice, and had been meeting for about a year to talk about abortion services. So we partnered with them and did some classroom-based education with these docs, and there were 18 students, both male and female, who were in varying years of their residency and medical school, and it was really amazing. So I'll populate a few pictures so that you can see them of the work that we did. And what I'm hoping to do for my capstone is to pick up kind of phase two of that work. It's still yet to be defined what work we're actually going to do. I met about a month ago with Dr. Novello, who has committed to this project as far as kind of as being both a underwriter and a subject matter expert to kind of help with this project. And I have been in contact with the docs in Rwanda to let them know that we're getting ready to make more moves. So, planning phase one, and kind of as I foresee it, is going to be there's going to be a couple things that need to be done. One, and kind of the first and primary piece, is to start to refine this project. So, and I think that the way I'd like to approach that is to have a series of conversations domestic conversations. So with Renee, what is the work that she's interested in doing? Having scheduling and having conversations with our docs in Rwanda, so that we can really assess what they see as a need. Um, and and then phase 3, once we have a little bit more of a refined idea of the direction, then to start to partner, reach out to other contexts, partner organizations, suppliers, international health care organizations and facilities, to start to put these pieces together. When Renee and I got together about a month ago to talk about what was on the table for us to be working on, we started in a visioning place. So I asked her to think about if if we could do one thing to change the landscape for Rwandan women, what would it be? Let's remove all logistical barriers. And her response was, let's open the first legal abortion clinic in Rwanda. And after working with her the first time, that answer actually surprised me. When we first went over and we're first going, she really had a change one woman, save the world approach. That everything, all change happens in these tiny steps. So I kind of expected her to say well, we'd want to do classroom-based education, or we need to make partnership with the hospital. For her to say, let's open the first clinic in Rwanda, was not only exciting, but kind of blows the top off of what is possible. I am not saying we're going to open the first legal clinic, but I think if the ultimate goal is to help the docs in Rwanda and interested parties to help support them to get to that place, we can start to kind of chisel away at some of those barriers where they have lacked the time or the infrastructure or the desire or the energy to kind of take this step forward. So this week, I did reach back out to Renee. Her and I are going to meet up early next week. I have put together some of my kind of thoughts about what some of our next steps may be, and I'd like to present those to her. I think what we'll probably do is start to work on a team charter, even though it's just the two of us, but just to get a team charter and or project plan, because I want it to be very clear the things that she's responsible for and the things that I'm responsible for, and what our communication is going to look like and what our time frames are, so that we can start to kind of get to a place, a good groove of how to move this project forward. The second thing that I did this week, so I first scheduled my meeting with Renee. The second thing that I did this week was to reach out to my docs in Rwanda, the two that I had been in most contact with, again, to just check in and see how they were doing. I did find that one of the docs was having, so he's on his last year in his medical school program, and he was not able to come up with the tuition that he needed to go back into school. So, and he was a pretty key influencer in his program. So I'm waiting to hear back from him on what the gap was, and there may be some tuition assistance that can come from the States, from Renee, to help get him back in the program, because I think that would be not only beneficial to him, his family, but I think he's going to be a pretty key person in this work. And so I haven't scheduled a full meeting with them to move the project along, but mainly wanted to do kind of a soft touch before we scheduled the full meeting. So our key stakeholders, as I see it: Renee, funder and partner in this project, Pacific, and Dr. Berkman, two Rwandan doctors. And then the next layer of that will be contacting Human Development Institute in Rwanda, who we met with while we were there, who are doing some women's health advancement work, and getting back in touch with Students for Choice and IPASS and a couple of the other institutions, both stateside and in Rwanda, who were interested in this work. Because I think it's not going to be enough to have one funder who is motivated. I think if we really want to do something substantial, it makes sense for us to be gaining the support of well-known organizations, and potentially to be doing some writing and presenting, eventually on this. So the last thing that I worked on this week, and I actually didn't do this intentionally for my capstone, but unintentionally, it worked out, which is I joined a study group. It's the Rural Racial Justice study group run through Lost River Racial Justice in Brattleboro. And it focuses on how to organize around issues of race, especially in rural areas. And so I was seeing this as a totally different thing. But one of the things that has been coming up for me in this work, this international health work, is being able to identify my own thoughts and values around race, and to be able to further refine how I talk about this work. One of the things that scares me, or that I think about, is so I, as a white woman with privilege, have approach work where you are going into either communities domestically, or in this case international. I'm going into a country with a total different socioeconomic system and race. How do I approach this work without and how do I talk about this work in a way that's culturally sensitive, and in a way that doesn't that factors race, because I think it matters. And how do I do this work without this kind of white savior complex or piece to it? Because I don't think I'm the only person who could do this work. I'm probably not the only person who's tried. I do think that I have a pretty good foundation, not only in the working knowledge of how, not only my working knowledge of how to organize staff and facilitate and to help a facility be constructed where safe abortion will take place. I also feel like I have a good working knowledge about good practices and best practices around abortion care. And I feel like I have a pretty good working knowledge about advocacy. And so in some ways, I do feel like I have a lot to offer, but I don't think that I'm going to go in and save people. So, long story to say that I went to my first rural racial justice meeting. It was pretty amazing. And I think that going through this process, especially during the planning phase, is going to help to clarify some of my own values, hopefully become a little bit more aware of when I am being racist, or that I'm expressing microaggressions, and be able to facilitate that, to integrate that into this project and the way that I speak about it and the way that I communicate with other people about it. So, so that was this week. By next week, I hope to have my meeting with Renee in the books, a project plan draft ready, slash team charter, and to start to get some drafts of emails and communications ready for to go out to the docs in Rwanda, so that I can get those conversations scheduled. We'll be dealing with international time difference, and so it may take a little bit of time to organize people's schedules. By week 3 of the trimester, I'd like to have a better understanding of where this project is likely going to go. And by the end of this trimester, I would like to have set in stone and probably have started some of this work around what is it that we are going to develop at this stage. What is the clarity on the full range goal, and a few significant steps on how we're going to get there. So thank you for watching. I'm interested in any thoughts and feedback that you may have, and I'm going to do my best to edit this video, and maybe I'll get a little better at that as time goes on, as well as hopefully getting a little more comfortable speaking on camera. So that's where I'm at. Thank you so much. I may venture into doing a blog component that goes along with this, and at some point, but for now we'll start with this and talk more as things develop. So thank you so much. Good night.